a lot of business owners struggle with mental health problems. And you might not see it, and you have to know that when you start getting into either the entrepreneurial way or if you want to buy businesses and invest into businesses, because it's not all glamorous, and everybody that tells you different just bluntly lies to you. So why do so many business owners struggle with mental health and you might not even realize it? It's fairly easy. And this week was a big reminder for me on this particular issue. And it's a very important issue. So an employee this week of one of our companies quit. Okay, it's just a normal thing. Employees leave the business all the time. They come into the business all the time. The more employees you have, the more normal that type is. But the difference is because right now we are doing a lot of changes in that particular business. So it's particularly tough on individuals because you have to deal with everything is changing. You have to deal with the pressure, and there are still the customers and the orders, and everything has to go as normal. And on top come all the changes. As a business owner and an employee, there's a key difference. While when the building is on fire, the employees can run out and quit, you as a business owner usually have to run back in and get the fire out. And that's the difference. And a lot of people underestimate that part, and I hope you don't. Because it takes a mental toll. You have to develop a mental toughness, and you will. Everybody adapts to it. Everybody needs a different time and a different approach. But there are certain techniques that you can do. You can start meditating if you are into that. For me, that is not something that helps me. For me, there is more like sports and family and trying to balance it and putting it into perspective that 5 years from now, that little fire doesn't matter, even though it's now a big fire. But when that happens, when it's getting tough, usually as a business owner, there is no time for you to think about things and to take maybe your personal health and your mental health first. And I know for a lot that might be a very unpopular opinion, but for me personally, that's how it is. Because if the building is on fire, aka you have a lot of problems in the business, then you as a business owner can't run away. Employees simply can quit and look for another job. And most of them will have another job rather soon. So for them, there is an escape hatch. For you as a business owner, it's like the captain of the ship where you go under with the ship. Hopefully not. But you are the last man or the last woman on the boat. You have to make sure everybody gets off safely. And that means if customers are pressuring you, it's like they don't care. Even though they might say, oh, we're sorry, and if you tell them you're not feeling well, blah blah blah, they might give you the impression they care, but deep inside they don't. They are paying for a result, whatever it is. In manufacturing, is they are paying for widgets, for parts, for, in our case, for metal, either welded or machined, and they want that and they need that because they have other customers, they have projects, they have deadlines, and if you are not a reliable partner, they will simply look for another one. Your competition certainly doesn't care for your mental health, because the weaker you are, the easier for them. The more business they can take away from you, the more customers they can take away from you. And your employees might be concerned with your mental health. I give them that. But again, they have an escape hatch and you don't. So while they probably are deeply concerned for your mental health, because it means if you have a massive breakdown as a business owner, then the business might go under and they might need to look for another job, and that might cause inconvenience. But at the end, if an employee has a problem, they can escape and you as a business owner can't. And that has to be very, very clear. And I see that very often that people get into the arena of buying a business and think it's all going to be sunshines and smelling roses all day long. And that's a real illusion, especially if you start out. The bigger you get, the easier it gets. Because you don't deal with the day-to-day problems, you don't deal with somebody leaving, and if you have 500 employees, if one of them leaves, it doesn't have that big of an impact, as long as because there are replacement plans and there's redundancy and so on and so on. But if you buy a business that has maybe 10 people in it, if one leaves, that might be key knowledge that is leaving the door. So you definitely have a different type of impact. And that's also playing in your head all the time, is what happens if that person leaves, and what happens if that person leaves. And I've seen terrible mistakes being made, from raises to trying to adjust to somebody's individual life in order to keep that person, because everybody thinks you can't replace that person. And very often that leads into a deadly trap. And all of this has to be handled for you as the business owner in your headspace, because that's going on constantly. There's constant pressure. Either the taxes you have to do, the taxes you have to pay, the suppliers that want to be paid, the employees that want to be paid, the insurances, then where do I find the next customer? Where do I find the next work? How do I pay myself? Because very often you as a business owner get paid last. That means if there is no money left, you pay your employees, you pay the taxes, you pay the suppliers in order to keep the business going, but you might end up with no money. Are you prepared for that? And not only just yeah, I'm okay, but are you mentally prepared for that? You put in a week's work, a month's work, and might get nothing? What do you think? What do you feel about that in your head? What is that doing with you? Try to imagine that and try to get that feeling. And also, when you are getting into it, I'm repeating myself, but make sure that you have a balance if you need that. I personally think balance is overrated, and you can have different mechanisms to cope with the stress. But you have to be prepared that you are like the firefighters running into a burning building while everybody runs out. The burning building is your business. Whatever the problem, the bigger the problem gets, the more pressure there is. It's there is the saying, diamonds are created under pressure. For me, there is a second thing, is it's either going to be a diamond or it's going to be dust. But you will only see when you put the pressure on. For employees, if for your employees and for all the employees, if there's too much pressure, they can escape. For you as the business owner, it has severe consequences if you don't run into the building, if you can't handle that pressure. And as a business owner, I definitely know how that feels. And there are more bad days than there are good days. And sometimes it does not feel like even worth it. And that's the reality. But at the end, you have to put that vision forward, and you with that vision, you keep going. And I'm pretty sure that at the end, it's gonna be worth it. That's what keeps me going. But sometimes on a Monday, on a Wednesday, whatever, it's when you really have not good news, you just have to find that balance. And when you have fellow business owners, sometimes it's good to exchange and find somebody you can reach out to for that mental health struggle, because it is important, especially as men. We usually tend to not talk about that, and it's very, for me, it's also very difficult to talk with other people about when I'm struggling, because I was raised the way it's be a man up. It's don't be a crybaby. don't be like a woman. That was quote unquote what I was told. So as you find that and find that escape hatch and try for your sanity to deal with it. But when you are getting into it, you have to make sure that you are mentally prepared for it, because it's gonna hit you sooner or later. And for me, that was like on a Friday. That was a reminder when that person handed in the resignation. On a personal level, I'm not mad. I'm a little bit disappointed because I thought that person has great potential, but obviously doesn't want to work on that potential, and the pressure is too much. On a professional level, it's really good because I can accelerate the change in the company. So there is always a positive and a negative. And the more I'm focusing on the positive, the less it messes with my head. Maybe that helps you too. See you guys for the next vlog.